This is another live radio link-up brought to you by the Government Communications GCIS. 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 Time has gone 5 minutes after the hour, 6 o'clock, and it's a very good evening to you and welcome to it. This, our special broadcast, and it's brought to you courtesy of Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS, together with the Department of Justice and the Constitutional Development. My name is Karabalance. Glad to be in your company for the next 60 minutes as we explore some of the issues that the Justice Department would like to bring to your attention in order to empower you with information and in order to inform you as well. And I'm pretty excited to be spending this time with you. Government Communication and Information System le bona the GCIS le khoroya tšweletšo pele ya molaotheo le toka the Justice and Constitutional Development. Leina lanka ke Karabalance ke thabela go ba le wena mo kgašong ya rena ya bošego bja legono ngwamngwele nawe mlaleli kulehle lethu lona lethola ngaba Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS, nabakwa Justice and Constitutional Development. Lokhuluma nawe manje uzoba nawe for the next hour ukarabo wakalance. Ngiyathokoza ngempela ukuthi nawe uke wathatha sakho isikhathi ukuthi ube ingxe yalolu hlelo lethu lanamhlanje. Right, today we're going to be talking about one of the most important issues that a government wants to bring to your attention. In fact, this is one hell of a topic that we're going to be talking about today, and I would need your special attention. In fact, let me encourage you to be part of the broadcast by not listening only, but to also converse with us. You can reach us on 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. It's a toll-free number if you're going to be calling from a telecom line. Otherwise, if you're using your cell phone, just do the initial calling. We'll take your details down and call you back, in that way saving you money. So that's one point of entry that you can reach us through. The other one is using social media, and if you want to use Twitter, for instance, it's a DOJCD_ZA. That's DOJCD_ZA on Twitter. On Facebook, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. That's where you can reach us. Communicate with us. Tell us what you think. You can ask as many questions as you want, and by the way, you can speak in any language of your choice as well. So let me not waste any further time and deal with this issue. I would like to give it as much time as we can, so let me not waste any. So we're going to be talking about trafficking in persons, the prevention and combating of trafficking in persons, and we're going to be talking about that act that was put in place in 2013 to combat and prevent the trafficking in persons. And joining us in the studio is our friend who has been here before and he's came back again. These guys are keeping their promises, actually. He did say to me he will come back, and he is here this evening. I'm glad to have him, and his name is Mr. Joseph Mogoshane, and he's a state law advisor at the Constitutional Development. Joseph, thank you so much for having taken time and to be with us again.
Thank you so much, Karabo. Good evening to you and to the listeners at home.
So there we go. So the objectives of this evening really is to, mainly we want to unpack the main aim of the prevention and combating of trafficking in persons, that act of 2013. And also what I would like us to do is just to highlight various efforts by government to prevent trafficking in persons, just to encourage you that this is being given attention. How about we raise awareness on various methods used in trafficking in persons as well. Let us educate ourselves on the most common age groups and gender targeted in trafficking, and also emphasizing the individual's responsibility to prevent human trafficking in the communities. So there we go. All right, maybe let's start here, Joseph, by just explaining trafficking in persons. When we're talking about that, exactly what is it that we're talking about? I don't want people to misunderstand the concept and think about the traffic as in road traffic and that type of thing. You'll be surprised at how many people can actually misunderstand that. So trafficking in persons, what is it exactly that we're talking about?
Trafficking in person is popularly known as human trafficking, and in simpler terms is when people are removed from their homes under false pretexts of by force and taken to another place or other places, either inside the country or outside the country, in order to be exploited.
I mean, this is a very, very delicate and very, very important issue that we're talking about this evening. It continues to be a global criminal activity that affects countless victims, actually, around the world and in our communities as well. And government has been working earnestly to curb the scourge of trafficking in persons. And now, let me just give you a bit of a background. In July 2013, the Prevention and Combating of Trafficking in Persons Act became effective to prevent and curb the scourge of trafficking in persons. And hence, we're having this discussion this evening to involve you in it, not only informing you but having you ask as many questions as you can on 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 0800 142 446. Oh, there we go. Now that number just flew out of my mind there for a bit. So it looks like there are victims involved here, because you've spoken about exploitation.
Yes.
And the minute you start talking about things like exploitation, somebody is suffering, or somebody is going to suffer. Now, according to you guys as a department, who are the main victims of trafficking, and how come those people are the main victims of trafficking?
To tell you the truth, Karabo, anyone can be a victim of human trafficking. It can be children, young people, and adults alike, particularly the unemployed who are looking for opportunities to improve their life conditions. Children are trafficked for different purposes, including sexual abuse, forced labor, and the removal of their body parts. This is often done by convincing their parents that if the child lives with the trafficker, who sometimes even is the relative of the child, will have better educational and other opportunities at their destination. Other means used include abducting or kidnapping of children.
I get very worried when you mentioned unemployment. Many people are affected by this phenomenon of unemployment, and they try in many ways to deal with it. And sometimes they fall into traps. So once you start mentioning issues like unemployment being one of the contributing factors towards people being trafficked, I get seriously worried. Now, here's my question. What are some of the one or two maybe methods that are used, especially with victims that are not employed? What are some of the stories that you've heard of people that are not employed? Maybe they were seeking for employment and they get targeted and they become trapped because of their desperate need of employment.
The issue of unemployment is obviously a serious one in South Africa, and then we know that the traffickers are very wise. They will look and examine what opportunities they can use. So it's even cut across. They can even traffic even the university students who've got qualifications, because currently there are no enough job opportunities. So any job that can be used by the traffickers, depending on their destination or the target of the country that they want to send people to, will be used in this instance. But particularly, mainly it's prostitution, which is easily used by these traffickers, and then forced labor, and then sometimes even forced marriage. And as I already indicated, it's also sometimes for removal of body parts, because of the myth and all the other issues that when you've used somebody's body parts, you'll either your business will grow, and all the other issues around those other parts.
0800 142 446. Gentlemen, I want you to move on those phones. I can tell you right now that you're slacking. I'm seeing so many lines flashing at the moment, and I would like you to move with speed. Otherwise, I'm coming in there. So, Shaindu, Pelaminanglali. 14 after 6 o'clock, 0800 142 446. On Facebook, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Otherwise, on Twitter, DOJCD_ZA. That's DOJCD_ZA. O Kabalerna Kalebe Lasepedi, O Kawelorna Setswana. Any of the Nguni languages, Mafunu Kulmanati, Zulu, Tatanas, Xhosa, you're more than welcome to do that. If you are struggling to hear you, we might ask you to rephrase in English, but hey, go for it. Shoot through with any language of your choice. Trafficking in persons. South Africa. ba rekishiwa go ba dinaga it gives us a bit of a problem in the country because there's so many rippling effect that comes with this issue of trafficking in persons. And wa borena wa longona ka mo studio sa borena Joseph Mogoshane o ile a tlhalosetsa ka mogelo gore batho ba tsewa ka gona eng ntša dilo tše leng gore di ba affecta ka nete gore ba be ba fihlele ba ipona le ditšo dihlabelo tša yona trafficking in humans. And you would like to add something there, Joseph?
Maybe I need to indicate to listeners that we might be under the illusion that trafficking in persons happen only across the borders of our country. But the most important thing, you can be trafficked from, in the same flat, you can be trafficked from one floor to another one. You may be trafficked from your house to the neighbor. You may be trafficked from one street to another one. The destination is not mainly the most important thing. The issue is that the traffickers' destination, they do not care how far they take you. They can just hide you just next to your house while the people are not aware about that, because they would have known that you will not be able to be identified. And people under those conditions will easily look much further without looking around the people. As I've indicated, that even your neighbors, your family, and people that you know. The other thing that I need to also explore is that you are not necessarily trafficked by foreigners or anyone who does not know you. They use the people who knows you. They get your trust. They get all the people that you are familiar with. That will easily then make you trust and believe in whatever lies and deceit that they are saying to you in order to get access to you.
Wow. All right. Argo wena mthiletše gore ka ge re bolela ka sebaka se re boledišana ka kgwebo ya batho ba yona trafficking in persons. If I hope my sepedi ke ifresitše gabotse mo mara trafficking in persons ke eng se e leng gore se tla mo monaganong wa gago se e leng gore o ka rata gore o boledišane le rena ka sona, mohlomongwe o ka nyaka gore o tlhalosetša se seng se e leng gore re ile ra se feta ra se bone ka yona nako ya gona bjale. O ka re letša mogala mo 0800 142 446 0800 142 446. Otherwise reach us on Facebook, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, gobayona Twitter ka nete DOJCD_ZA. Arieng bogom ga Limpopo re ke re boledišane le moloko dumela.
Tobela ntate ka ra go le kae?
Rona le kae?
Rona ntate ke moloko mo mo di FM ka mo sina ba rwana.
Ke thabela go kwa wena mrena moloko.
Awa le nna ke thaba go bona le wena ntate. This issue is a worrying factor. Go bela go tšwa gore if motho na le certain information in trafficking in person go ne motho mo ba tseba batho ba loreng ba dira kgwebo ka ona maotho ke batho ba isha dinageng tše dingwe ke lefapha le fela mmušo le loreng ka gona o interact le lona go gona o fana le bona this information regarding those perpetrators ba loreng bana ba go ba ka batho ba isha ka dinetse ke ntsene go bela le go shaka gore go tlhogo ka gore belo ka modudi wa Afrika Borwa ke name ke eme ka maotho ke lwantšhana le human in trafficking ke dipušo tše pedi tšeo ke rata go di botšiša.
Borena ka ke a thaba gore le wena o tšere karolo mo kgašong ya rena e ba le bošego bjo bo monate ke moloko yena o letša lebogo mo ga Limpopo a reng Freistata re ke re buisane le Mohlwathupa yena ke moletši wa rena e leng gore most often he does call in. Mohlwathupa dumela.
Dumela le ka ntate ka gabo.
Ntate wa ka nka ba go a ile gore go na le se sengwe nke bo se kwele.
Ya ka nnete.
Pušo ya rena e reng?
Ya mohlompi itli ne ke batla go tshwaela ntlheng eno ntate gobane ke gopola hantle gore nane le tshwanang di lena le kilela le etsa ene ka ba ka letsa mo ne ke le bohloko ke lla ka e mong wa bana ba lekanang le mogadi wa ka wa o qetela ya nyetseng ke nna ntate boholo ha o ka sheba se ba kwa ke bofuma le kala batho ba rona ha o tla ka tšhelekeng ntate ha ke tseba ba ka etsa tsohle ngwana ntate a ke bua le wena ke ka ya last bone ya ka o go kona go tsara 15 disie kona 15 disie mara o nyetse le tswa di taisi di ene o nyetse ke ntate ya mogolo hala ke tsebo ga le jwalo le gona o kena dipakeng kapo le gona o tsitsa jwa ntate wa tseba ke ntate ka le jwalo ba motswadi le nna ha ntse ha bohloko ha ntse ha monate ho handa
Mohlwathu bange o mpolelle mona ha o re vale o dile mo di 15 o ne o tsibile jwang gore o nyadisitswe in other words how did you actually come to the knowledge that she was married at the age of 15. I wonder who gave the consent to that. But nonetheless, we ile thola jwang tabena Mohlatupa. And again, say long wena at the moment we ile wa se etsa hore o tle o buleisane le bona batho bana ho ba bolella hore tabena ba etsang ha se yona ha ya loka.
Okay, ntate ngwanena hore ke tsebo go nyeki ke ngwana ntse ke mo hutisa le mogadi wa ka wa okay wa tsibone ya wa utlwantate ke ngwana ya holetse mahlongana a ka ntse nga holela mahlongana a sa tsena sekolo no tsena bothata thata ke batswadi ba ha ke bona ba dumetse ha ba ha bontate wa montleng wa mong ke ha ba dumela bo.
All right, Mohlatupa ha ke re bona hore re kae hlahla yang tabena. Maybe if you want to hold on Mohlatupa there for a bit, we might just come back to you with follow-up questions. He wants to find out, he knows of a 15-year-old daughter. It's a daughter because he's the person has been growing under his care, and now this person is being married by somebody who's much older than her, and apparently the parents or the biological parents of this lady, of this child rather, they've agreed to it. So my question to you is: a 15-year-old is it allowed for a 15-year-old to get married, even if the parents? Because now the thing is, the parents are saying yes, it's okay, she can get married. Is that allowed by law?
No, it is not allowed by law. The Constitution, as the supreme law of our country, in terms of the Bill of Rights, anything that is contrary to the Bill of Rights will not be allowed. Hence, before a person can be married, he must be of a marriage age, childbearing, and then there should also be consent. So in the case of Ntate Mohlatupa, there is something that is not right in that instance, and that needs to be investigated. I can give you an example of something similar to this nature. There was a case, the popularly known as the Jezile case in the Western Cape, because we all know that in the Western Cape, in the Eastern Cape mainly, there is this cultural practice of ukutwala. So in this instance, this guy used the consent of the parents, kidnapped the child, sexually abused a 14-year-old girl. And then this case was investigated, and after investigation he was brought before court. As we speak currently, he is serving 23 years imprisonment, and the case was further even confirmed by the Supreme Court of Appeal in the Western Cape, sitting as the appeal court. So if I look at the facts and hear everything that Mr. Mohlatupa is indicating, the case is similar. So after investigation, there are possible charges like human trafficking, kidnapping, sexual abuse. The only thing is that even the members of the public, when they see that things are not done in the right way, despite the parents being involved, as I have already indicated, that some of these things are done with the consent of the parents due to poverty and all the other issues, as he indicated is in his introductory remark, that some of the issues are influenced by our cultural issues. So this is actually wrong and needs serious investigation, and maybe we would like to know and get the number of Mr. Mohlatupa so that we can see how we follow this up through our contacts in the Free State.
Well, go ahead. Okay, I think Mohlatupa is gone there.
And maybe again, Karabo, when I go to the first question.
The one in Moloko.
Yeah, Ntate Moloko, wherein he wanted to know how they can be involved and what do they do when there are suspicion in regard to human trafficking. The law indicates that you must report that to the police officers. The police officers will investigate, and obviously the social workers will be involved, and depending on the circumstances, it will then be indicated whether human trafficking is involved or not. And again, maybe I may also add that in terms of Section 18 of the Act, everyone, including anyone, does not indicate age or anything in regard to that particular, indicates that anyone who suspect or should have known that a victim a person could be a child, could be a victim of human trafficking or trafficking in person, must report. And if it has been found that you knew or you ought to have known, but you did not report, you can be brought before court, and upon conviction, you can be found guilty as anyone else who was involved in that matter. And then in terms of section 19, it relates to adults. In relation to adult, it is where it says that anyone during contact whilst you are waking, you suspect that there could be a case of human trafficking in this instance. You are also required by law to report that particular case so that it can be investigated, so that all processes can be followed, and then that particular person can be given the necessary services that needs to be done, and the law can take its course.
0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. We've got Linda Mazibuko on telephones, and we've got the other Mazibuko. We call him the junior Mazibuko, who's on our sound system there. So these are the two people that are going to be helping you in terms of reaching us in the studio. 0800 142 446. We've got Victor Pala also on our Facebook and Twitter pages, making sure that if you're interacting with us via Facebook and Twitter, we do get your message. So be in touch there with us if you can. We'd really appreciate it. So let's go to Partco. Before Partco, actually, let me take Lebohang from Eliwell North. Lebohang listening via Takalani FM. Good evening to you, Lebs. I'm
not the fella, Gina Katie. Haribuaka trafficking in person. Kila kautiba ba mtwita lang bititi. Ufumane bon nebana ba ufumana bana. Ufumana wana utamutu ariki family kapa ki relative. Ufikangi wana amuche atamadena yisale nya. Now ikati jela zwangu twejwalu. And that one exactly kinana kiona trafficking in person. Ya bubebi. Like what happened last time Mona in front of Takalani Community Radio. We were told that you must announce that somebody on a set day Baba Isa Seres. And then what happened? But Bambatid and then Awanka Trakienu Batamaya without knowing what happened. But Tubana wants to Bahuta once I want to say the man in the Fetisima Hoba. Rafetula the prostitute and Sayo Sedesa at all Bantineno Churukana Moon in Elixir empty and what by never Arula Bamba Seresi, Bamba Tebe, or Riba Copana, Babaco, Yandisha, Batubana Batangan. Jotigado, Anter Guagatonajin, Arif Manona, King One with Tibel and Treaty now is Kaita, Natilia Stikilu, Jobana Baruna, at the Tauana Budi, Unkabana Baruna Mona, Babakam Siditi, Bali Stranded, Babakam Siditi, then Atibayu to our displays. Kamamina Tagalani Community Radio, the champ.
Big ups to Takalani Community Radio for taking part this evening. In fact, it looks like the whole management of Takalani Community Radio, due to what has happened in front of them, they're all up and they're all calling in. Here's another one. His name is Partco, also from Takalani Community Radio. Good evening to you, Partco.
My name is Chief Kunjan.
Chief, I'm in the appeal, man. Akondo, man.
Ndiyaphila njabulisa nakutata apho ndalikakabo nakuna statement okanye bayimibuzo ndizewutata ethetha malunga nento yokuthwala ingaba ke ngokungenza sazi ukuthi ezinto ezizigamile ziyenzeke ngakumbi deep emthatha in the rural areas ziyenzeke izinto ezifumana ukuthi umntana kakagqiba ithwalwa bahamba abamelwane bayoreport epolice station umzali umntana uzawuthi hayi apha endlini akho tata akho nto sebenzayo so ke sifuna inkomo ngalomntana njengoba sifuna inkomo singahambe sityayo la mntana uzozisa ingeniso kanye kube khona ukutya apha endlini xa sithe samvumela ukuthi azekwe ngusugar daddy emveni koko ufuna ukuthi ngokusugar daddy lo ufukumeza umntana after that and then abuye azofuna inkomo zakhe back at the end umntana selesilekile then i-system sokuqala esibini kakhona apha into kwi-down esihlala kuzo kanye rural areas kunale tendency kumane ukuthi abantwana bahamba plus minus 15 to 10 kilos ngenyawo basuke eplasini, and then beze alwa north esikolweni, ufumane ukuthi abanye banikwe ibhayisikili esikolweni. And then ingaba i-department nga-assista njani icala lezonto ngoba ufumane ukuthi i-human trafficking yenzeka kwelo cala ithi xa bebona nabo abantwana ababili bathathe ngamantombazane bahamba bebodwa ifike imoto ibathathe, and then ufumane ukuthi akwaziwi ukuthi bayiphi. Ingaba izinto ezinjalo zihamba zibeke zincediswa ngalokhu nawuhlobo ingakumbi i-community. Kwakhona umbuzo wami wokugqibela, ingaba ayazenza okanye i-educational programs baye ebantwini ngoba bayonqena nontana i-social worker bayonqena bahlale eofisini oko ithi kukho ingxaki kuthiwa nangu umntana ulahlekile, akho movement ayenzayo nontana onke. Ingabe ezinjalo Tate Karabo zilungiswa njani? Bekusothi ijiji ngapha kwezinkqubo ezilohlobo Tate Karabo, ndiyabulela kakhulu.
Ndiyabulela Tata. Padco calling from Takalani Community Radio all the way out in Eliwell North, as well as his colleague there, Lebohang Kasipe, also calling from Takalani Community Radio. Let's go all the way to Mpumalanga, and we're chatting to Defender. Defender, good evening to you.
Good evening, Karabo.
Yeah, what that?
Karabo, it's not a question, it's a concern, because Mpumalanga, that are showing Swaziland and Mozambique, and within Eshandeni district municipality, Nabokoma's municipality, the prevalent issue of human trafficking, but it looks as if nothing much has been done. I don't know whether it should be, how it should be intensified in order to solve the problem. It's something common, like it's a daily thing.
All right, thank you so much, Defender. I really appreciate your comment. Partly question in a way. I really appreciate that you've taken some time to call in. 29 minutes just before 7 o'clock. Welcome to it if you've just joined us. This is your live interactive broadcast brought to you courtesy of Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS. Together with the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, Lina Nakake Karabalans Tabalawalo and Nabuchum Yalono. Revelation and Gamo, the publishing Jarnacha Hasho, relation about trafficking in persons. We are actually referring to that act that was put in place in 2013, the Prevention and Combating of Trafficking in Persons Act. Around that, we're trying to explore or this issue of human trafficking. How can you take part in, not take part in human trafficking, but take part in the combating thereof, as well as the prevention thereof. And to help us understand this phenomenon quite well, it is our guest in the studio again, Joseph Mogoshane. He's the state law advisor at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. So be part of the broadcast. Call in 0800 142 446 0800 142 446. Get straight to the point. Give him your name and your number, and we'll do that when we go on air so that we can accommodate as many people as we can. So those are the questions. Then Joseph, you want to jump into them?
Yeah, Lebohang. Go bua nnete ga gona ope o batlang gore a nne le ngwana a be a utsiwa. So ke expecta gore ko hospital go be go tshwantse go na le security measures tse e leng gore di teng tse di irang gore motho ga a tswe ka ngwana o iseng wa gagwe. So mo dilong tse di ntseng yana go na le ha re tshwantse re lebella human trafficking ga se fela batho ba e leng gore ba trafficka ba e leng gore bana le seabe batho ba bang ba berekisiwa mo e leng gore go na le di syndicates tse di itseng gore go na le mongwe o mo spetlele o ba mo berekisa o e leng gore ke ene a kgonang gore a ntshe bana bao ga gona gore e kare o sa tla o tshutse ngwana ebe motho a go tlogela fela o tswa o sa tshola ngwana. I mean o tswa ka ngwana o e leng gore ga se wa gago. So dilo tse di ntseng yalo ke dilo tse e leng gore di tshwantse di batlisisiwe go lemogiwe gore ko spetlele seo maemo a letso ke a afeng a irang gore bomme ba nne dikgwedi di le kana ba imile bana ebe motho a tla a tlo motsa fela re sa itse gore o mo isa kae ene bogolo setona ke a itse gore ba be ba ya go ba retla di rwetsa mmele. So ke nngwe e leng gore ga gona tiko mo yone ke kgang e leng gore ga ya letlelwa ebile ga ya tshwanna go ka bo iragala. So ke sengwe se se tshontseng se batlisisiwe mo kganyeng ya makgowa ke dumela gore makgowa gore a feleletse a tlile mo plekeng ya rona batho ba bantsho ba be ba tlile ka mongwe ga gona le khoa le pele le ka tswang fela ko plekeng ya gagwe a tla a re o batla batho go sna ope o arrangitseng le ene gore ke batla batho ke ba berekisetsa ko kae le batho bao ka mokgo ba kgobokangwang ka teng motho o ba kgobokanyang o berekisana le lekgowa le ke ka mokgo a itseng gore lekgowa le tshwantse be le mo a tswitse ka sengwe se e leng gore ene wa itse gore ga ke kreile tšhelete kana ga ba tsamaile yana nna ke tla sala ke iphedisa mo e leng gore impuisetsa ko goreng ga ke ne ke simolla ke tlhalosa the definition of human trafficking ke buile ka bofefo file yaanong ga ke bua in details pila e tsamaisana le 3 important features. The one is the act, which is in terms of section 4 of the act. It says any person who delivers, recruits, transport, transfer, harbors, sells, exchange another person within or across the border. That is the act. Any of those act. So it doesn't only involve the person who is going to be the end person who's going to get this
even
person.
When you give information.
Even if you give information, that is one of the issues.
Where do they live and so forth.
And all those other issues. And then we get to the means. The means is by means of a threat, a harm, fraud, abduction, kidnapping, or abuse of power. It's guilty of an offense if it can be found that any of those means and the act where the purpose was exploitation. That is another important thing that needs. So you can see that there are a lot of issues involved there, and anyone who is found to have been involved in any of those acts or the means is or can be found to have been trafficked a person. So coming to the issue of PATCO, it shows that it is on a distorted cultural practice, because if you look particularly the very same case of Jezile that I referred to, the people there were other people who were involved who investigated the actual practice of ukuthwala. Some of the elements of ukuthwala is that there must be consent, there must be of marriageable age, and then there should never be any sexual exploitation during actually it says that there should not be any sex during the negotiation. The parents must agree, and there is even a possibility that when they do not agree on the amount, the person can be sent back. So in this case, it can be seen that, like I indicated, the very same one of Jezile, that the parents were involved. Actually, it was the relatives. So the relatives, due to poverty, agreed to everything. But then it is a precedent to say, if you practice ukuthwala in a distorted fashion, you are going to be found guilty of offenses like kidnapping, human trafficking, sexual exploitation. And then coming to the issue that has been raised by defender in Mpumalanga. The act is based upon 3 pillars, which is prevention, wherein we go around giving information on how to prevent trafficking in persons, and then prosecution, wherein the prosecutors come into the picture by prosecuting, by forfeiting the assets, by giving witness protection. And then there is also partnership with other departments, because we already have different stakeholders, right from the national level to the provincial level and to the local level, so that we work in partnership, because when we work in silos, we will not be able to defeat this offense. So there are different structures that are in place that we are working with, and we ensure that each and every relevant stakeholder is important. And I can just mention in passing that the issue around neighboring countries, it's also one of the important issues around partnership, which is another important pillar of the Act. The partnership does not only involve departments, it also involves the neighboring countries. And in passing, I can also indicate that I was in Zimbabwe, wherein it was South Africa, I was representing South Africa. There was a representative from Swaziland, for which defender has indicated. And the cases around Mpumalanga, we explored and said we need to come up with measures to ensure that the partnerships goes up, and we see measures as to how can we curb all these other issues. And there was even a representative from Mozambique. So we are trying to come up with multilateral agreements and bilateral agreements to ensure that wherever we see that this could be the route that is used by traffickers for the victims, then we come up with measures to ensure that we curtail all the other issues. But the most important things is that us at national office or at provincial level, we won't know some of the issues unless they are reported and they are investigated. It's only then that we are aware that there could be particular issues around a particular place which need urgent attention.
Right. 20 minutes before 7 o'clock, 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. Let's take three callers. Yes, the three callers. And we'll take your Facebook question as well. The first one being Ntabiseng from the Northern Cape in Kuruman. Ntabiseng? Okay, let's take Becky first. Beg your pardon, it's me. It's my eyes being cockeyed there for a bit. Let's start with Becky from Northern Cape, Kuruman. Becky? All right, I'm being told to go to Ntabiseng. Ntabiseng, Northern Cape in Kuruman. Good evening to you. Good evening, Ntabiseng. Good evening, Becky. Good evening, Josh Mapanga, Mpumalanga.
How are you, Parabo?
I'm very well, and you, Josh. I'm very well for now that I can hear you talk. It looks like
Parabo, my concern. I've got a concern. You find the system itself. You see, we've got a very good legislation in the country that protects people, other traffickers. But then the problem is that the system itself is not effective. My question is, hello?
Yes, I'm listening to you, Josh.
Yeah, my question is, why is the system not effective? You remember there was a case around Mpumalanga, around our area in Tabachu, where young people were bathathwa bayiswa eMozambique bafalela kwenye indawo and so forth. It took police about 6 years to investigate the case. At the end of the day, those children are growing. They lose out in terms of education. They lose out so many things. So I just want to find out, why is the system delaying so much? That's my question, Karata.
Thank you so much, Josh Mapanga. I really appreciate it there in Leidenberg and in Mpumalanga. Do we have Ntabiseng from Kuruman? Let's take Ntabiseng. Ntabs?
Okay.
Rtenlegame.
Good.
Puso how are you?
Can you do that a little bit, because last, it was 2 months back, Kilo Karataguna, a victim of women trafficking.
Okay.
So I was trapped via Facebook, a job advertisement. And then we can drop our contact, then you will come back to us. So then I dropped my contacts, and then the qualifications. Then after 2 weeks or a week, maybe you got the number Friday.
Okay.
And then come if we need to contact the Miracle and the qualification and then come if we look in Miracle, then why as their phone number, because it can say a landline or no banary problem network. Then I'm going to get like a motion then Friday. So if we get pull up more drinking, Tabalili channel, Matating on phone and I'm going to get my Nike. Kimo ranking Gatriang, Maractivity for mobile for Gatriang, Kimotoro and Okai, Watriang. Ada Antari, if we are miracle to go on to what I could make Kimo Friday in Genta. That Robert of information now, the Latin Friday, Kisamrakiri, Uzi Ikari, I'm suspicious because motori kitlen mereko mare ha tlo go radio go timang, and then by the time
I'm not trying to be rude in any way. I can try to give a snacks. We've just got so many people ba batlang go phone gone yana. Ke tlo kopa fela gore maybe just get to the point in terms of gore potso how king, or maybe if it's a comment there batlang gore or fe yona, please let's do that. I'm just trying gore ke rashe nako.
Oh, right. But so o khona go ba reporter kgotsa yang contact tsa teng kana ka di ba mo gona. So I'm going to be some or yang.
Okay, thank you so much, Intabiseng. We'll definitely deal with that. It's got to do with social media, human trafficking being practiced via social media, and we're going to be tackling that now in a short while. Beggy, Northern Cape, do we have Beggy?
Hello, sir. How are you?
Good on you. Thank you so much, Beggy, for coming back. Your question, please.
I'm actually concerned about the foreign national. How does the Act empower a person from South Africa, because this is happening cross-border, because you might suspect, as the definition has been said, if there is any suspicions from me that this person is a foreign national, by the way, is being exploited, how do I then get involved? Because I don't know this person, because there should be investigation. That's what my question is all about.
Thank you so much, Beggy, for being sweet and short there and giving other people a chance to call in. I really appreciate it. That's how we need to do it. 15 minutes just before 7 o'clock, 0800 142 446. Your Facebook question that just came in, and thank you so much, Tepiso Mohomote. Tepiso listening to us and asking her question or his question via Facebook. There, he says, what are the mechanisms in place to combat human trafficking in rural areas? Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. If you want to do the same as Tepiso there, you can hook us up on Twitter, DOJCD_ZA, or Facebook, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. There we go. Joseph, you can jump in there.
A ke simolole ka ya Nthabiseng go a khatlisa gore o ne a feleletsa a buile le letswalo la gagwe ka ntla ya gore se re ka se buang go gore ga ele gore wa belaela gore motho o go tshepisa mmereko o e ka tswa e se one lefapha la Department of Labor in your area can help you to validate the job offer, particularly those outside your province or the country. Any suspicious conduct by prospective employers or their agents must be reported to the police. So yaka abua gore o santsane ana le dinomoro tseo a ka tsama ka tsone ko maphodiseng after a ba bolella story sa bone ba khona go checka, because ka seo a ka khona go thusa batho ba bang ba e leng gore bone ga ba ka ba thetsa letswalo la bone. So go a khonega gore a ka etsosa kgetsi e ntseng jalo. Jaanong ga re ya ko Josh o ko Mpumalanga re tshwantse re ya ka ke ne ke simolla ke rile re na le implementing structures tse re di berekisang from national level, provincial level. Ko national level re bitsa National Intersectoral Committee of Trafficking in Person, and at provincial level it's called Provincial Task Team. And then within the Provincial Task Team we have the Rapid Response Team. The Rapid Response Team deals with actual cases that are happening. It involves the police, the social development, the National Prosecuting Authority, the Department of Home Affairs, and everyone who should be at the scene when a person has been identified as a possible victim of human trafficking. So dilo tse dintsi re ka nna ra di kgetsi gore o re kgetsi e rileng e tsaya sebaka go na le mabaka a mantsi a iragala dipatlisiso nakong di tsaya sebaka go ya ka mabaka a iragala mara nka mo fa sekao fela ka gore o founa a le ko Mpumalanga go na le case e leng gore ya itsege the Mabuza case e leng gore mo go yone go na le mme o ntate Mabuza a neng a mora a motlele bana ko Mozambique go te batlo bereka ga go tseniwa fo after a robalana le bone a ba ira basadi yanong yaka ha ke bua lo ena yana Mr. Mabuza is serving 8 life imprisonment as a result of his actions.
So Samuel.
Yeah, so nto engwe e maybe ke tshontseng ke bue go gore di penalties tse di leng teng mo human trafficking or trafficking in person, the maximum sentence is life imprisonment or 100 million rand or both without the option of a fine. So go dependa fela ka mabaka mara gantsi so se se tona ke gore ka gore gona le di syndicates a di thoto tsa bone di tseiwe ba isiwe ko tronkong ka gore ga o ba tseela tšhelete ba santsane ba tlatla gape ba ira tse ding ba ira engwe tšhelete e ntsi e ba kgonang gore ba kgone go tswelela pele ka yone ba patela di fine gape. So ya ga beki ya di foreign nationals ke bone sentle batho ba e leng gore ba tlabe ba le mo country ya rona o ka ba bona e le gore ba tshogile ga ba ema sentle fo ba leng foteng yaanong jaaka molao ke se ke buile ko gore as soon as you suspect that there could be any possibility of a victim being trafficked, you need to report that to the police officers who will then take the matter further with the Department of Social Development, check everyone, assess, and then the matter will then follow through the right processes.
Right. 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. Twitter, DOJCD_ZA. Otherwise, Facebook, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development.
Potso engwe e leng gore ine ya tlhagella ke ele ya gore what are the mechanisms in place to combat human trafficking in rural areas. Ga o lebella the act itself, it stipulates that the Director General of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development must develop a public awareness program which should actually target the rural area wherein people will be taught in the language that they are most familiar and conversant with. So currently, we are working in the development of the national policy framework, which is going to be the driving tool in respect of this, because the act only came into operation on the 9th of August last year. Right. So currently, the national policy framework is on the desk of the minister, who should then approve it, and then it will be tabled in Parliament. And then it has a 3-year plan, which include public awareness, particularly to the rural area as required by the Act. And as I've already indicated, we have the provincial task team. The provincial task team does not only comprises of departments. We indicated that it should comprises extensively of civil society organization, faith-based organization, NGOs, so that the most deepest rural areas they can be reached. Right. Therefore, each and every one has an opportunity to come up with suggestions that can be used to ensure that we collectively, in a collaborated manner, deal with this offense.
Right, 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. I'm seeing Tamba here. In fact, Tamba is calling from KwaZulu Natal, and Tamba reminds me of a friend of mine who's living in New York. He's running a radio station there called Z100. His name is Trey Morgan, and he came to the country and he said to me, I'm going to go to your province called KwaZulu Natal. So they're Tamba calling from KwaZulu Natal. Tamba, good evening.
Yeah,
Siyaphila kunjani baba?
Ngiyaphila baba, ngilalela ngaphakathi sethu FM.
Siyabonga
baba, mina ngokubona kwami inkinga la eSouth Africa mfowethu, umthetho waseSouth Africa awukho tight, imingcele yethu iyavuza kakhulu. Manje uma abantu bakithi ingane zakithi zithi zithola umsebenzi zijabula zithi kanti zifaka enkingeni. If ungasubheke nje naseParliament inkinga yakho iyonakele kakhulu mfowethu. Uma ngase sifake umuntu ozoqinisa ozokwenza sure ukuthi umthetho uyaqina umuntu abaqhuba ngaphandle bezeSouth Africa nabaphumayo kunga-right kakhulu ikakho ke mfowethu abantu osesibethu befuna ukuphumela ngaphandle bayifaka enkingeni. Inkinga nje lapho mfowethu kuyavuza kakhulu umngcele wethu. Ngiyabonga Nkosi yami.
Uthemba, ngiyabonga baba, ngiyabonga ukuthi nawe uyathatha lakho icingo usishayele lapha GCIS. Siyabonga. And let's go to is it the Eastern Cape? In the Eastern Cape, we're talking to, and I hope you guys have got this name correct. We're chatting to Teketa from Gala.
Kunjalo ngenene Karabo mazenethole kuwe madomboze Karabo ngenkqubo enhle kangaka esiphatheleyo lisebeli, kodwa ke sekunjalo kumhlophe into yobana iimfundiso ziyafuneka into yobana zibe ngamandla kunjawunjoku ziqeqemele kwezi ndawo zingenalwazi luphangaleleyo ngokwenkqubo ezinje. ingakumbi kwexesha sikulo labantwana abaxhofukela izinto kuba ngenye ixesha xa uqaphela isimo ekusiso phandle apha abantu indlela abaleqa kuyo izinto ingakumbi abantu abanemoto loo nto ibabeka esichengeni sento yobana kube lula ukuba babe ngamaxhoba okuba bangaxhwilwa phantsi kwezi nkqubo ziqhubekayo. Eyona nto ke ibalulekileyo kakhulu into yobana iinkqubo ezinje ezinezimfundiso zingapheleli nje konomathotholo, zibe khona iinkqubo eziza kwenziwa ingakumbi ezikolweni kufundiswe nabantu karabo ngokuphangaleleyo nangalenyewe yokuthwalwa kuba kaloku kusekho abantu abanengqondo yento yobana ukuthwalwa noba kwenziwa kumntu oneminyaka emingakanani kulungile, kanti kukho apho kuye kufumaniseka into yobana sele kuqatyelwe ngapha komthetho. Nkosi karabo, ndiyabulela kakhulu, ndisevukane FM ecala.
Engosi Tata, Engosi Vugane FM, really appreciate it. Let's go to Mahikeng, Lydia in the Northwest. Okay, Lydia is not there. Lydia is there. Lydia is not there. Okay, who is Lydia there or not? Okay, I need you guys to focus. Otherwise, I'll fire the rest of you. I'll fire all of you. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? No problem. I told you I'm connected to big people. I'm just joking. Let's go to... Is Lydia there or not? Okay, Lydia in Mahikeng. Lydia in Mahikeng. All right, let's move on. Are we going to Linda in Pretoria? Linda in Pretoria? All right, 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. I think somebody needs to prepare me a warning letter while we at it. By the end of the show, hey, but I'm telling you now. 5 minutes before 7 o'clock, live broadcast coming to you from our studios here in Pretoria. It is the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development having visited us. They always do that on a Thursday, try to empower us and give us information that you and I might need in order to better our lives, in order to empower ourselves as well. So call in with any questions or comment. We really, really appreciate it. Would you like to maybe, let's touch on what Temba has said. Temba says that laws are not tight, laws are not firm, and that's the reason why this issue of trafficking in persons escalate. Well, by him, according to him, we're not. It's not being dealt with because our laws are not tight. Well, what is your comment to that?
I don't think really it's a true sentiment that the laws are not tight. We have very good laws, starting from the Constitution, and even when you look at the very same Act 7 of 2013. The only thing that usually sometimes give us a problem in South Africa is the implementation. Hence, we are saying in this project, we have come up with measures to make sure that there is flow of information right from the top to the lowest level. Because the structures that I'm talking about, it's representative from the national department who can then consult and get the information from provincial to the regional, and even we make sure that each and every case, the people who are dealing with a particular case, the prosecutor, the investigating officer can come together and discuss the strategies to make sure that everything is fine. So the only thing is that we need to work in a concerted effort and make sure that we report any irregularities. We can indicate that there will always be some irregularities, but they need to be reported because in the national policy framework, one of the issues that we indicated is corruption that we need to deal with, because if you look at these cases, these people come across the border and you just ask yourself, how did they cross there? Because there should be tight security in regard to that. And then on the issue that was indicated by Teketa regarding public awareness and education at schools, we are busy dealing with that. During the Human Trafficking Week, we went to different schools wherein we indicated to learners what the human trafficking is, and also give them in details the roles and responsibilities of different departments, so that we can get them at an earlier stage so that they can also give the information to their companions and be sure that they also can give the information to their parents, so that we try at the most earlier possible time to cap this offense.
All right, we're taking two last callers. So let's take two last callers and we're going to wrap it up. The first one being Tepo from Klaksdorp. Is it Tepo on the line, Tepo?
ntate dumela ntate Sandana le
Dadwaga ke re go dupedise ka mafolofolo ka hore o tlohile o bua lebitso la team e nngwe e kotsi hampe mo South Africa dumela
dumela ntate dumela ka mo tseng ka mo
dumela ntate Tshepo
ntate ba point ba di pele ka bogusana sana point ya pele ke kopa because ke le ke ba ne profita go ka go thusa motho mo e le re le tla wala mo pepe a batla wala mo pepe ya human trafficking ba ke ba go ile tsa batho ba rona ba mo South Africa batho ba rona bohle gore especially mo ntse mesebetsi a ba le ke go ha ba ya go plekeng se go na le mesebetsi di plekeng a o se wa ya o le mong or ha o ya go pleke batla motho go tse se le go plekeng because o bitla go plekeng ha o tsena mo tuleng ke ja ke le motho mo go plekeng sa mo around Randburg ke mo khatila tsena teng the place ya teng tsena mo le it was not an office o tlile go office ba tla go pleke ta tsena mo gona bona go tsena mo lona this place ya se di office mo so ha tsena mo ntong le pleke teng le fela ga o tsena mo la bona go lo mo o ka re la fate bana tshetse go ka o isiwa le one but unfortunately o isiwa le bonta ta bara so now re nna ta ba gore ntse tse ba bona plans ba bona tshedi ba ta diswa so ke ile tsa batho ba bona gore ha ba ya go pleke dingwe tse tsa mesebetsi fa le offer thing ke le gore di too good to be true aba se ke ba tsa ba tsene le dintshonte tse le gore ga dia tse le gore di tsa ba tse mo ntshonte di tse dingwe ga o pleka o kry di tse zama ka boje gore a go be le motho a itse go ya kae a motho a go khatwa go pleke o ska tsa tsa maole wane ka gone ya go bakela mathata ko teng.
Thank you, Dr. Tshepo. Thank you so much for your advice, especially when because you've had first-hand experience. We know what to say somebody who who nearly became a victim of human trafficking, and you speaking from experience there. So, you can actually advise people to say, look, verify the employment opportunity that you get given. If you do go to an offer of employment, maybe have somebody know exactly where you're going, give them the addresses, give them your phone numbers, and have them to have constant communication with you as you embark on that journey to go and seek that employment. Thank you so much. Kitsepo from Clarksdorp there. All right, let's move on to our last caller, and I believe we've got Linda on the line. Linda?
Yes. Hi. Hello.
Hi, Linda.
Yes, I just want to find out something. The son of mine was with a friend, and the friend took his car. He asked him not to use his car, and then, are you here?
Yeah, I've just missed the first part there, Linda. You say just the first part. What did you say there?
My son had a friend, didn't have a house to stay, and the friend said, "Can I come and stay in your place till I get a job?" He said, "Yes." And then that friend was on drugs. And then what happened is one day the friend took the car and went out. He phoned me and he said, "Please bring my car back." When he came back, my son was phoning me to say to me, "Mommy, I'm coming for supper." When he phoned me, I hear on the phone the guy, my son will start screaming. And then he started crying. I said, for my son to cry, a big man, it's something not good. And I went there. When I went there, his head was 3 times been cut. Shoulders, his hand, they took 2 fingers out. And then they ran away with the car. And then the police find them. But I just want to find out, the guy doesn't work. My son now is completely cannot work because his mind also is gone. Because now every time you look at that, he's scared. I'm also scared when I'm sleeping at night. But they are in court. Is the guy, the prosecutor or the judge is going to put him behind bar because he's dangerous?
You know what? This is a serious one there, Linda, and I'm very sorry about what happened to your son there, but I'm glad that, there's no loss of life there. What we're going to do, Linda, for you is this. We're going to put you in touch with one of our representatives from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, who's going to help you follow up the case. That's number one. And I would like to suggest maybe to my colleagues at the department, maybe something like what you call it, something where you can a psychological maybe check on your son and that type of thing. So we'll try to follow up as much as we can. We'll try to impart as much as we can of skill in terms of help and psychological help and so forth. Does that sound comfortable to you, Linda? Would you be able to take that offer?
Yes, because I don't have that money to spend.
Yeah.
Now the boys cannot get a job because his right hand, he cannot even, do something. If you miss 2 fingers in your hand.
Yeah. All right, 100%.
You see, when we took the ambulance took him to the hospital. By the time we changed him from the hospital to the other hospital, it was too late. We couldn't fix the finger.
Yeah. You know what, Linda, we're definitely going to do that. We're going to try to give you some assistance. We'll take your details down. My colleague here, Joseph, will definitely have somebody in their department to give you a call, and let's see how far we can help you on this regard, okay?
Please, because I'm really suffering for him, and I'm also suffering for myself.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Linda. We'll definitely try to give you some assistance there. So that was our two last callers. Actually, Linda, we're going to try to give help there as far as her son is concerned. And would you like to add something there, Joseph, before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'm so glad that we have someone who have a good mind like Tsepo. I hope all the people got the advice that he gave them, that we need to confirm. You need to keep in touch. There are social media wherein you can confirm anything that you are suspicious of.
Yeah.
The technology this nowadays is so advanced. You don't need to just go into a hole without checking first what is going on. And again, on Linda's case, it is very important to say that DSD must provide some services in this regard. That is Department of Social Development,
right.
Because the trauma for the victims is not only in respect of directly victims, but you can get the trauma indirectly as a result of something happening to your family member. And in this respect, as you have already indicated, we will ensure that we get her details, and then through our contacts in the Department of Social Development, we will see how we can cascade this issue to ensure that they get a better services and also don't get secondary victimization as a result of this matter.
Thank you so much for that. And that is the voice of Mr. Joseph Mogoshane. He's the state law advisor at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, coming here for the second time. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time, Joseph, and hope to see you again.
Yeah, I definitely will be back, particularly when I come and update about what we are going to do after the National Policy Framework has been approved.
Yeah.
And all I can urge from the listeners is that let's work together with government alone, without the assistance from anyone else on the ground who have first-hand information regarding human trafficking, will not be able to curb this offense.
All right, just take a pen and paper quickly. I would like to give you these details. They're very, very important with regards to what we were talking about this evening, and that is the details of the Gender-Based Violence Command Center. It is the GBVCC, the Gender-Based Violence Command Center. Their numbers are as follows. It's 0800 428 428. It's a toll-free number, that one there. It's 0800 428 428. If you want to maybe send them an SMS, maybe they'll call you back if I'm not mistaken. It's this one here. It's a USSD number. It's star 120 star 7867 hash. Star 120 star 7867 hash. And that's how we wrap it up for this evening. Thank you so much to all the community radio stations who've taken part in this evening's broadcast. I really appreciate it. And that is, or that was rather, our broadcast as we wrap it up on this Thursday evening. Thank you so much to the technical team as well. Tamsanga Mazibugo as well. It looks like the whole thing is Mazibugo-fied this evening, because Tami, the Mazibugo Jr., as well as Kolo Linda Mazibugo on telephone, as well as Victor Pala. That was our social media producer. I really, really appreciate it, guys. You did an absolutely amazing job. That is after I've given you the warning letters. All right, 7 after 7 from myself, Karabo Lance Strollana, Sabapedi Matabele. Let's meet again next week, Thursday. Ciao for now.